What is going on today, guys? We have this amazing project, Telos, and we're going to learn a lot about it. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to dive into the brain of the architect of the Telos project. This is apparently a project that is big, it's massive, and it's a couple years old. And I want to know whether or not this is something that I want to sink my hard-earned money into. And the architect behind it, I want to see if I could trust him because there's a lot of scams out there. This is the Wild West, baby. Like there's all kinds of people out there who we don't know who we could trust. So we're looking at this interview and we're going to look at Doug and say, hey, are you someone that we could trust? Are you someone that we could trust in leading us into this project? If you're new to this channel, my name is Aaron. I'm on a journey to 1 Bitcoin. I'm a brand new crypto investor, and I consider myself a cowboy with a little lizard brain, but gorilla arms and diamond hands exploring the wild west of cryptocurrency. So if you want to follow along with me on that journey, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell for any new and updated content. And of course, if you want to help me grow my channel and you feel like a generous person today, I would ask for you to hit the like button. That would be greatly appreciated. Now, a little framing of this interview. We are going to, dive into the dev's brain and see what makes him tick. But before we do that, I'm just a new crypto investor just like you, and I do my research on YouTube just like you. But what I didn't know as I gained a base of YouTube subscribers is that a lot of these YouTubers get paid to promote coins with a biased information. And I was like, what in the world? And what I found out is that these devs aren't even happy with a lot of what they're promoting because they're not doing it with energy, they're not doing it with insight, they're only just reading the website and just calling it at that. So I came up with a three-prong win-win-win approach is what I call it, is that the devs can defend their project with energy, with enthusiasm. Like we will get like the best information from them. Two, I get compensated and I get removed as that, blocking party, and I get to just ask questions right alongside with you. And three, you and I get the best source of information, even better than what's on the website, because sometimes the dev can flush out an aspect of the project that we wouldn't even really get just by reading the website. So of course I get a lot of these coins coming to me, these projects, and they don't, and a lot of them don't want to show their face. And I think the reason why is because they're a little scammy, right? We don't want to invest in people who are going to rug pull us. But there are a few people who say, I believe in my project. I believe in it so much that I don't mind showing my face because I know that we're going somewhere. And so we have Douglas, the architect of Telos, in the hot seat, and we're going to grill him today. Douglas, welcome to the hot seat.
Hey, thanks a lot, Aaron. I actually love the way you're set up because Telos will stand up very well for that. I have the same concerns about rug pulls and undoxed devs and meme coins that promise the moon and delivered nothing. So I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. So before we get into the project, I need to know a little bit about you. You're the architect, you're the man, but you're one of the driving forces behind this project. Tell me a little bit about your background, your origin story. Who is Doug?
Okay. Well, it's a bit winding, right? This is an age of people changing careers a lot. When I was young, I made my living as a developer. I wrote part of a couple of programming books. There was a time, once upon a time, before you, that there used to actually mail around printed magazines about computing, and I used to write and edit for those. Yeah. I've always been sort of a creative person, and over the years I developed a actual sort of almost an ISO 9001 process around creativity and how to build things for myself. And as a result, I've written a couple novels that got published. I spent about 15 years working at the edges of the film and television industry, selling scripts. You got to direct a few things and producing things on TV and whatnot. I was a game designer for some of the top brands in the world. Things like Disney. I probably produced and developed 40 games for Disney.
Wow.
Also Pokemon. Pokemon hasn't had an outside designer in about over 20 years, but in that period, I was the only person who designed anything, and I designed 3 games for them. So
Wow.
I just had a lot of great opportunities to work in creativity. later, maybe 10-ish years ago, I was raising my kids and outside of Hollywood because I didn't want to be there, and I was making videos, directing videos for Microsoft as a employee, also for Amazon and Boeing and Starbucks and a lot of the big companies that are up here in Seattle where I live. And it got me really fired me up about it. But I'd also I would fly over the world and I would direct, talk to executives and learn what they're doing. And I was like, oh man, it gets me really excited about like I see what this is, and I see there's several times when I said I should have just gone full in on that road. I'd like, so no matter how happy I am about my background, and what I got to do in my life. There was, you always go, oh, what if I just stayed in tech? I could do a lot. At the same time, around that same time, I really started getting excited about Bitcoin, and then later when it came along, Ethereum, things like that. I approached it, and like a lot of people, like I kind of started out as, what's this? I did mining. I had a professional mining operation that for several petabyte back a few years ago. Not really big, but big enough to know what that world is like. And I did development, and I did all these things sort of not in the shadows, which was great because I had another career and things like that I was doing still. And then 3 years ago, almost exactly, a little more than 3 years ago. 4 years ago, EOS was announced. EOS white paper was announced, and I thought that was incredible. I liked things like Steam and whatnot. I thought that there were some problems, but I really liked what they were setting out to do. When about 3 years ago, when EOS mainnet launched, I was one of the 30 or 40 groups globally that was working to launch that as an independent mainnet. I was not a leader in any way in there, but I was trying to just kind of do yeoman's work, and I had some real concerns about the fact that they never actually built the parts that they promised I was most excited about, which were the governance pieces, and they just kind of punted on that. And I said, I don't, that's what I was excited about. And so, but because I was sort of like bottom of the, rightly so, bottom of the heap there, nobody listened. And when EOS came out and started going in a direction that I didn't like and I hadn't signed on for, I became really concerned because I felt like the greatest blockchain core tech protocol of all was going to get wasted by a horrible implementation. And I saw a lot of problems. And I'd lived through the growth of web and mobile and even internet. I've been around for a while, and I thought I knew where it was going to go. And so, what's crazy is, like, have you ever had that time in your life and you go, I knew it. Oh, yeah. I knew it. And people go, yeah, right, Aaron, you knew it, right, Doug? Yeah, sure, you knew it. Well, this is one of those things where it's just like really lucky. I just happened to write down all the things that I thought were going to go wrong with the EOS blockchain. And put them in a white paper, and then flash forward just a few months, and they all started happening. Flash forward now 3 years, where EOS is effectively, people don't want to admit it, but it's technically it's a dead project. The underlying the things that are great about it, and that's it's largely because of the developer Block One just left. Right? They just said, here, you guys do it. We don't, we want to do voice and bullish and things like that, but not launch them on EOS. That was, there were a number of problems there that I had. You can look back and go, oh my gosh, this thing is like, a time, it's like a time traveler document, because it just happened to be pretty good. And so what we did is we brought together a global grassroots group around this white paper, and I went to everybody that I had been working with in EOS, and I said, hey, I have these concerns. Do you? And like I had one-on-one calls with maybe 100 people who were important to that thing, and of that maybe 20, almost everyone said, yeah, we have those concerns too, but we're not going to rock the boat because we've just spent all this time doing all this build, and we want to get paid, right? And we're not going to give up on it. And then about 20 people said, yeah, we want to be involved because reasons. So we put this together in over about 5 months. 150, 120 to 130 people got together, maybe as much as 150 people, independently, total grassroots. No one got paid. Everyone paid their own way. And launched this. And since I've been in crypto for a while, I was still in the old school, pre 2017, like what's acceptable. And so we launched this. We didn't do any ICO. We didn't take any kind of token sale. The developers only kept 5% for themselves, and it was kind of like an acceptable amount. All the rest went to the EOS Genesis blockchain, EOS Genesis buyers list, because we felt those were the people who had paid to get the EOS IO software, the underlying protocol written, and B, were going to best understand it. But one of the big problems with the EOS snapshot is it was hyper centralized, as a lot of chains are, and probably most. And we said, look, there's a problem here. We can't. If it's going to be a voting-based thing, one of the reasons they didn't do a voting-based thing is it was so centralized that if you did a voting-based thing, everything would go to the top 100 accounts, and everyone else, the other 161,000 accounts, wouldn't matter. So what we did is we said, okay, we're going to give a haircut. Everyone gets their amount. Everyone gets their tokens. Everyone gets their amount. But at 40,000 tokens, which was less than 1% of total accounts, we cut a line. So if you had 40,000 tokens, you get 40,000 tokens. If you had 40,001 tokens, you get 40,000 tokens. If you had 10 million tokens, you get 40,000 tokens.
Yep.
So what that did is it created the most egalitarian launch of any blockchain, perhaps ever. That launched from some kind of Genesis list, and
Gotcha.
as opposed to peer mining.
So okay, so let me wind it back and let's
it's a lot, man.
Recap.
You asked.
Yeah. So Doug, you are someone who comes in with a lot of expertise in a lot of different fields, a lot of it in development, TV, and film. You worked with these big companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Pokemon, and then you got into crypto, and you've spent a lot of time like watching trends of the internet and tech trends and crypto trends and all that kind of stuff. You're one of these OG guys who have been through the ringer. You got on board as a helper with a project called EOS. You said it's a dead project. I've never heard of it before. So yeah, it's probably a dead project.
It's the biggest. They raised $4 billion. That's the biggest. EOS was the biggest. It was the biggest ICO in history. They raised $4 billion. I didn't do anything with it. So the fact that you haven't heard of it is very telling.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
$4 billion to work with, and people today haven't heard of it. That's amazing. I'm glad, because there's a lot of negative associations around it, and people lump us in with people who do know about it. Will lump us in with it when in fact we actually launched because while we share the underlying protocol we really like, we didn't like anything else about it.
Gotcha. So there was an underlying protocol here that was gold that you really liked. That's what draw you to it. But what you said was there were governance concerns and with communication and all that kind of stuff. So you basically left, and the devs left after that, and you wrote down on a piece of paper, like, hey, these are all the problems, everybody. You're like this oracle, like time traveler in your DeLorean, and you said these are what's going to happen. And turns out a couple months later, it all happens, and the project's considered dead project.
Piece of paper. One thing, real quick. The piece of paper is a white paper that I think was over 100 pages. In all. So it wasn't like I wish I'd gotten down to a bullet list. And as things continuously over a long period of time went the direction that I had feared. And a lot of other people had feared. But at about 2 or 3 months, it became really apparent that like a lot of things that I was talking about were happening. But it's still happening. Even 3 years later now, it's still happening.
Wow.
It's just like, oh, that's another thing.
Wow. So what I'm gathering is that you're carrying a lot of credibility with you going into another project that bounces off of ELOS, or not bounces off, it's probably not the right word, but you're basically taking the central protocol or the underlying gold protocol of EOS, and you brought some people together. What you said is about 150 people, and then you launched. And then all the people that were previously in Telos, EOS, they got, you drew a line at 40K tokens, and that's how you launched And that's how you started the Telos project. Is this correct?
Yep, that's it. That is all correct.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm glad I got that. I compressed that into this little lizard brain. I was taking notes. If you see me looking down, I'm taking notes here.
Hopefully that's the longest one. No, you did great. I'm impressed.
Awesome.
And hopefully it won't all be that long.
No, please. I want to learn from you, right? I really do. So tell me, what is the Telos project? I have no comprehension of what EOS is, so you might have to, start
We don't
like a
we
like
don't ever have to
10-year-old.
mention EOS again.
Okay, cool.
That's fine. There's an underlying protocol called EOS-IO, which is based on sort of graphene software, which is third generation software, blockchain software that was built up through BitShares and Steam and now Hive, which is a fork of Steam, a community fork of Steam, and then EOS. Last time I'll probably mention it. So Telos uses that same protocol. It has no other connections. Telos is a layer 1 blockchain, so it's a blockchain itself, not a project based on a blockchain.
Got it.
So like we look at, a lot of people say an L1 or layer 1. That means Ethereum is like an L1, and
Right.
Curve is like an L2 that's built on top of. It's an app that's built on top of the layer 1, right?
Got it.
And then I always say that layer 0 is your community, because that's actually the most important thing. We've got a fantastic, thriving community that actually runs the chain. So Telos is layer 1. It is there's a site you can look at called blocktivity.info, and Blocktivity is an independent rating site for that looks at a couple of things. Primarily, it looks at how many transactions, verifiable transactions per day, are being done by each blockchain. And for about the last year, Telos has been in the top 3 of those. It was I think, I haven't looked today. Yesterday it was number 2, along with a protocol called Wax. But the gaps are massive, right? So this looks at those, and it also looks at it also has something called the value index, which says what's your value compared to Bitcoin versus what your market cap, and what's your transaction usage compared to Bitcoin, and then it creates an index, right? Saying, well, if this were 1-to-1, you would be worth this much. Telos is the record for the most undervalued project in all of crypto. We have over 100. I think I've heard recently it's about 120 dApps already built and running on Telos, or in their final stages to deploy. We launched our mainnet in December of 2018. All the governance is 100% voted by the users. Because of the way we launched and the way we did our genesis, there's no Telos company, right? There's something called the Telos Foundation, which is just a marketing organization. There's if you look at the Litecoin Foundation or many other foundations, they basically own 40% of the tokens, right? If you look at Ripple, they own 54% of all the XRP tokens, right?
Wow.
These things claim to be decentralized, but economically they're not, and
right.
And people, whether or not you have the advanced voting tools that Telos has, you can still do a lot of market manipulation, but that doesn't exist on Telos because nobody owns more than maybe 4%. So it's orders of magnitude. It's an order of magnitude lower in economic centralization than everything else. Which means that the voter, if you pair that with the fact that we built the most advanced governance platform, you should ask about that. What I mean about that, because everyone claims that, and I will. I love the fact it's like a thesis defense, and I have to defend myself. So please grill me about that, because I'd love to tell you why it's the most advanced governance platform. It's the greenest blockchain in the world as well, and measurably, and I can tell you about that. It's the most advanced in terms of ESG, which is important to businesses. It's the fastest with a 0.5 second block time. Right, our record for transactions is about 20 times that of Ethereum, and it can go up, and that's just actual use. We could go up to our capacity about 500 times that of Ethereum. So there's a lot of, and we've built a ton of our own code. This governance engine, I'd love to dive into that because we've done things that no one's ever done, and then we did another thing that no one's ever done, and now we're working on a third level of stuff that no one's ever done in governance. Like, we're so far ahead with our Decide engine. And we're building an EVM, which will be, and we can talk that. You should grill me about that, Telos EVM, because that's going to surpass Solana and Matic as the world's fastest, highest capacity EVM, with advanced features like the end of the only one that can prevent front running, which I call the DeFi tax. So you should definitely ask me about that. We're bringing out we have wrapped token because we're so fast. And because we have free transactions, we're really the only decentralized platform that has L1 chain that has free transactions. That means that you can move around values, for nothing. It's great for DeFi. Our DeFi costs we're going to be the cheapest DeFi around, both on our native platform and on the Telos EVM DeFi infrastructure that's launching, probably within the month. And we've been working on for 8 months. Nobody's heard of us. So the big thing you should ask also that is why no one's heard of us. If all of this is true, why has no one heard of you, and why does Telos only have a market cap of around $100 million when it sounds like it could go head to head with every single top 10 coin? So those things you should ask me.
I will. I will get to hopefully all of them. It depends on how much time you got, because I got all the time in the world to learn from you. I really want to pick your brain and evolve my little lizard brain into a dinosaur brain here. So let me ask, first of all, I want to just kind of back up here for anyone who's
I'm going for lemur. I want you to have a lemur brain.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
This is where you go from lizard to lemur.
Right? Yeah, we're gonna try. So what you're saying is your competition is things like Ethereum and ADA and Ethereum and ADA and Polkadot.
Yep.
You're competing with different blockchains.
I mean, those are comparable chains, and with every single one, we exceed them on everything except price and size and
user base
fame and user base.
Yeah, gotcha.
We think that the other things, those are going to come.
Gotcha. So we're not talking about, like, if you're watching this video, we're not talking about no meme coin around here, okay? Like, if you're getting lost in the shuffle here, we're talking about blockchain versus blockchain and why. And look, Doug, you made a lot of big outlandish claims here. And I think you know that, right? The most advanced governance token, the greenest. I don't even know what an ESG is. You're the fastest. Eliminates front runners. So we're gonna get to all of this. So I just wanna let you know. I wanna ask the first question. Yeah, what you just landed on. Why has no one ever heard of you? If all this is true, and we'll get into it, why has no one ever heard of you?
Yeah. No, I'm not defensive about any of this stuff because it is all true. People often ask that question. I love that question. I feel like the more you learn about Telos, the more you go, what the hell? Like, why haven't I heard about this sooner? That's actually how I felt about Bitcoin when I first heard about it. I was like, why haven't I heard about this sooner? And so, why people haven't heard of us goes straight to that narrative of we never raised any money, and straight to your narrative of, guess what? Crypto's all pay to play, baby. Whether they tell you that or not. And I really like what you're doing, and you're being. I think you found a great way to be both honest and ethical about what you're about this, and still have a channel and still be able to educate people and say, hey, great, you're going to pay me because it takes time to put out these videos. But if you're full of it, I'm going to say you're full of it, or the users are
right. Okay, so it basically comes back to.
So they haven't heard of us because we didn't have money. We completely bootstrapped everything. It's like great to go, hey, the users are in control and there's no company behind it, and you guys didn't do an ICO, but that comes at a cost, a very high cost of not having the money to go pay to get on these things. We only got on that's been an ongoing problem. No matter how much development we did, no matter how much technical advancement we had, that was always a problem. And what we did, though, is we've used our governance as a strength. We can propose things. People in the community can propose things. Developers can propose things, and then the community votes on it, and we figure out how to allocate and move. And so that's been our great strength, is we can evolve very quickly, and while keeping the community 100% in charge, which means you never have a fork. And it's great. The community loves it because everyone tells them that they're in charge. And most people in crypto, if they really look into it, realize they're not in charge, and it's just fucking lip service.
Right, right.
And that's not us. And so like people find it extremely refreshing. But we only went on KuCoin, like our biggest exchange, still KuCoin, and it costs money. Surprise, it costs money. And it costs like not a small amount of money. So we had to go raise that money. We had to figure out ways to raise that money without crashing the token price. And so we actually found some great innovative ways to do that. Like, for example, we innovated something called a T-bond. And a T-bond is, and now we've created a tool set where other people who want to do this can come on and do the same thing. What a T-bond does is it allows you to, so the problem is if you sell a bunch of tokens to be able to get onto an exchange or something, all those tokens get thrown onto liquid exchanges, and then it crashes the price of the token, and it defeats your purpose, right? So what we did is we said, hey, let's do it kind of like let's do a legal way to sell tokens, but have people not be able to, people have sold tokens and have locked them up, but everyone hates that because they're locked into something. That's bad for users, and as a result, you have to give too big a discount and stuff like that. So we took so with T-bonds, what we did is we said, okay, let's make an NFT that locks up tokens just like a U.S. Treasury bill. Well, but the tokens are locked up. It's not a promise to pay someday in the future. The tokens are actually locked up in it, right? So that's what makes it not a security, in my view. And I'm not an attorney, but I believe that so I want to make that disclosure. But it's I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a tech guy. I'm the only guy who's actually really here for the tech. And so it locks up those tokens until a date that is built into the smart contract, and those tokens can be unlocked, without anybody else's permission needed. You as the owner of that token can do that. Those tokens don't go onto exchanges, so they don't crash your price. But there's a secondary market for the NFT itself. So if I've locked up 10,000 Telos for 2 years. I can't dump those, right? But what I can do is there's a marketplace for these as NFT market. It's sort of the fusion of NFTs and DeFi. It's a great DeFi project. Nobody has it. This is just stuff we built, and people can come on and use, and other projects are using it, right, as a funding source. And I can sell it to somebody who says, let's say I'm like, I don't care. Oh, this is horrible. I don't care about this project anymore. Or, hey, I need money, and and whatever. Before, you don't have any option to do that. With T-bonds, I can say, well, I'll sell this. I'll sell the whole thing. They still can't be liquefied, but somebody's going to get a great deal, and I'm going to get my money out. No one's ever done that. That's a very small example of what we do on Telos. We build really cool, real-world ready platforms, tools that people can use, and then we make them. We build them to the chain often, and then we make them available for everybody else.
So I'm assuming the T-bond, they make a percentage interest on that, correct?
Well, the first one we did was just for the chain, so the users voted.
Yeah, like why would I lock up my money in a T-bond other than to get that?
Because you buy it at a discount.
Okay. That's what it is.
Value.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's why. So just like a U.S. Treasury bond, there's a face value and a maturity date, and you can claim. With the U.S. government, they pay you. You go, here's my piece of paper, and
gotcha.
And now pay me. With us, it's all the user always has control of it, but they're locked up. So they may get 5 or whatever percent, 10%, rate of return, and that's why they do it. And it's a financial. It's basically mimics in crypto in a decentralized way one of the world's most traded financial instruments, which is U.S. sovereign debt.
Gotcha. Okay, so here, let me back out of this and go big picture here.
Yeah,
Typically,
that's like a tiny example, right? That's like the innovation we do. But that's how we funded getting onto opening up bridges onto BSC, onto Ethereum. We have these decentralized, and tapping into those markets, and then also being able to launch onto KuCoin, which has been great for us.
Gotcha.
Finally unlock the value. And
So,
we did a 30x, by the way, from the time we started that to in
oh, that's
just a few
awesome.
months. Yeah, and so it's it's working out, right?
Good job, guys. Okay, so when I describe blockchains, I kind of describe them in this kind of simplistic way. I say that blockchains are like emerging cities in the Wild West, right? And so like Ethereum would be like LA. It's this like massive, robust city, and ADA would be like the like it's just starting in San Diego or San Francisco. It's a city just starting, but you know it's going to be good. You're saying that the Telos city or Telos blockchain, where every one of these cities have its own way on governing, its own traffic patterns, where like it determines like how fast a transaction is, all this stuff. The Telos, network or blockchain is raising money now, or through these T bonds or examples like these T bonds, and we're constantly building up. And so we're trying to invite people over to Telos to build, like developers to build their apps, and more user base, like these competing blockchains. So I want to go through. Is that correct?
We're not raising money anymore. It was a one time. I mean, we could do it. We have this funding mechanism we could do anytime, but we're not raising money. We raised it, we re-raised it, and then we went on these exchanges, and now
Oh,
going to
gotcha.
now we're going to be going on more and more exchanges. I would say in that example, Telos is like a city that already has a hyperloop, that has that has great skyscrapers, that has
Oh,
amazing
wow. Okay.
factories. There's all these things, and yet nobody's really heard of them. But they're all ready. They
Mm,
already work. Like if you're like talking about Cardano, you have to. I mean, I assume you know that Cardano, despite its high price, it doesn't even have smart contracts yet.
right, right. It doesn't. It's not up and running yet, but they're
Right. We have
predicting
we
them to
have the
grow
most
to it.
advanced smart contract platforms, and we have about 120 real dApps running on them, and not just gambling. We have things like Taikai, which is a hackathon platform that's used by Microsoft, Pfizer, other big companies. Right. We
Wow.
have. I mean, we have like real stuff. We have
Yeah.
DStore, which is a decentralized storage platform, cloud storage that is aiming to go against Amazon Web Services, and all the economics are paid in Telos. The customers use credit cards, but all the storage node operators get paid in Telos. So a massive,
Awesome.
constant influx of new fiat converted to Telos and paid into that system. I mean, yeah, we're basically like the space alien city that's like, but that for whatever reason nobody's sitting out there, and there's some kind of shield that no one sees for some
Gotcha.
reason. So that's why
Gotcha.
I'm talking to you. I'm trying to give people like the key to know that the city's out there. You know.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, so it's like an empty New York City with all the infrastructure, but just we need to fill this place up with people. Got it. So
I mean,
let's
it's
talk
not
about
empty.
the.
We have 900,000 um,
Oh,
user accounts. It's not empty,
gotcha.
but it's nowhere near
Compared,
capacity.
yeah, compared to
Yeah,
capacity,
yeah,
compared to these other chains. Gotcha.
yeah. And we're growing
So,
at about 100,000 new user accounts a month.
oh,
So we'll
awesome.
hit.
Fantastic.
So this is not and those accounts can do incredible things, right? They can
Yeah.
tap into all kinds of dApps that are existing, and super fast DeFi, and it's incredible. It's not empty. It's not an empty city, but we can have 1,000, 10,000, a million times the number of users we have right now, and
Right.
and manage that.
And the time to get into an early into a city like this is early because all the infrastructure is there and it's a growing emergent city. Okay,
Yeah, it's
you're gonna break a
weird. By the
million
way,
this month.
this is unique, right? Because usually what you have is, and all these other coins, and sometimes it's frustrating. You have all these coins that like they come in, and then like the value goes up, right? They haven't done jack shit, but the
Mhm.
value goes up. And so you better get in the first 10 minutes, or else, those all lead to pump and dumps. Here's a
Yeah,
spoiler alert: every one of those pumps is going to dump.
yeah,
Telos somehow has been around 2.5 years, constantly building stuff that can go toe to toe and beat almost any other platform out there in most important respects. And yet at the beginning of the year it was 1 cent. Now it's a quarter. Now it's 25 cents, and
awesome.
has been as much as 50 cents. But if you really like, I'm gonna let you do the math. But let's look at the market, look at the capacity. If at the end of this you believe that yeah, the stuff you're talking about at Telos really is a top 10 tech, right? And there's no reason it shouldn't be up there. But the current value is at a nano cap, $100 million in total market cap. Then you do the math on whether there's an opportunity there for people to realize some gains. A lot of people
Gotcha.
who have done
Gotcha.
that.
Yeah. So you're headed for the billions. You're headed for the billions, if not $1 trillion market caps here. And I like
I'd
that
say
you said
10 to hundreds of billions would be
awesome.
what I'd hope for in a realistic time frame.
Okay, we
But
got
I
a
don't
little
know.
price
I'm not a
prediction there.
financial advisor. I'm
Course.
highly biased, and
Yeah.
people should do their own research.
For sure, for sure. But we have a price prediction here, which is what I like to see. I'm not a financial advisor either. I'm just a cowboy. I give cowboy advice. Don't sue me. Don't sue us, guys. So you were saying that it's the most undervalued project here, which I'm going to discover
Well,
right
I'm
now.
saying that about 3 different sites say that, and I agree.
Oh,
One of
okay.
them
Blocktivity.
being Blocktivity. God, there's a couple. Hopefully, I'll remember them before we get to the end, and maybe you can put it in the notes. But yeah, there's a number of sites that say that, and I agree with that assessment.
Of course. Okay. So awesome. So we're getting credibility from 3 different sites saying you're the most underrated project. So let's get into why. And maybe because of time and the list is massive here. Could you explain to me why are you the most advanced governance platform?
Yep, absolutely. So a lot of people think of Tezos as the most advanced governance platform. Like we are beyond that, and we exceeded that a while ago. Let me just really quickly explain. The first level of governance is essentially no governance, or like Bitcoin. It's governed by the miners and the developers and stuff like that. And to some smaller extent by the exchanges and the users who buy in, right? But it takes forever to make any changes there, and that's, to many, that's a strength. But it's a very slow evolving thing. It's some turtle that only that tortoise that only like
To get everyone to agree on one thing is like slow goings for sure.
right. There's no tools for that, and so what happens, because they haven't been, and again, I really like Bitcoin. I'm not a maximalist of anything. I like Bitcoin. I love it. I've made my living in it for years. But many people will say that's the strength. It's never going to change, and no one can change it. It's very hard, and that's a strength because you can't get governments coming in and say, no, you've got to do this. And I think that's a very valid contention. But this technology is going to advance, right? So let's call that layer 1 governance. Basically, essentially, no governance. You got to get the devs and the techs and the exchanges and the miners to all sort of agree by vote with their hash rate, right? So now that's level 1 governance. Level 2 governance is if you have some basic things where maybe your protocol, or maybe you can have some voting around tokenomics and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe you can do like what Dash has done long time back, and say, okay, we're gonna have a certain amount of funds that flow in for community development projects, and the people running master nodes get to vote on that. I'd say that's like the level 2 governance, right? Mm-hmm. Level 3 governance, where Tezos is, and by the way, more power to them. There's like, if you look at like Tezos, Decred, stuff like that, they have a lot of they should be very proud. They've done a lot. They've said, okay, let's update how our actual protocol itself can be changed based on like what are our rules that we operate by, and put the users in control of that through voting systems. So Tezos and all those guys, that's actually a huge jump, right? And Telos was there. In fact, not only do we have that, but we had an amendment system. We had the same sort of voting initiative on funding things. So companies and dApps and whatnot could come to Telos and get funding as voted by the users. We can allocate funds like to build the T-bonds thing, and like I mentioned a minute ago, and many other things. So that I say with level 3. So we were in the most advanced, the 3 to 5 most advanced level 3 governance, and then we said, I said, hey, this is great for the chain, but all the dApps need the same thing. And if each of the dApps build their own governance system, that's a lot of extra work for them to do. That means that there could be bugs in one that aren't in another one. A basic tenet of software development is ideally you build a great tool once. You make it so that anyone can improve it, and then you don't have to constantly be starting from square one. And that's how things built bridges and built, and you can advance and stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And which is what we do. So what I did with my team at GoodBlock is I said, because we had built this engine of governance for the chain, I said, let's rebuild, let's do great. Congratulations, guys. Back to work. We're going to rebuild this whole thing from the ground up, doing all the same things, but make it extensible to any dApp on the chain. So that means that, and no one else has done that, no one else had done this at the time, and still no one's done this. That means that Telos has, for its own chain, built a governance engine called Decide, and it works great for the chain, but in addition, any app on Telos, any dApp that's using it, or DAO or DAC or whatever, can use those exact same tools that are built once, that are maintained by the Telos core devs, so that you can't introduce a ton of individual bugs and problems and stuff like that. They can use those, and the first app that came on and used it is called Seeds, which you should really look into. Joinseeds.com, fantastic regenerative economy project. It's going to save the world. They said we saved them a year of development time.
Awesome.
So, and then they went on to build some tools that probably saved additional developers another 2 or 3 more months of development time. So basically, people dApps. The reason we have all these dApps coming is that they go, oh my gosh, we could save over a year of development time. We've always promised we were going to have all these governance features. This is highly modular. We can this Decide system. We can build it. We can build it really fast and deliver on all our promises on what we want blockchain to be. No one's ever done that. That's why I call Telos at the fourth level of governance. We built all the highest caliber things, and then we took the next step and extended that to other documents, to other dApps on the chain. No one else has done that. And already, now what we're doing is we're working on smart contract bridges so that other chains like Ethereum can come in, and where voting is so expensive that people don't do it, and they can do their voting on Telos Decide too from other chains. Is essentially a blockchain service or Oracle-like service, and then only at no cost, because our fees are our transaction fees are nothing. There's a small cost, which generates revenue for the Telos chain and gives more value to the Telos token, of course. But in comparison, it's extremely small, and it's paid by the project, not the individual users. And so only the final transaction, only the setup, and then the final transaction have to go back and forth across these bridges and pay the gas, and the normal users don't have to do that. And so it's essentially free for them, and that means it greatly ramps up ramps up participation of governance, which is important. So that might be level 5. I don't know. That's how far ahead we are of everything else in governance.
Okay. So honestly, listening to you is like listening to a mad scientist, like talk to like a lizard brain. So let me repeat back to what you have, and you tell me if it's right. When a blockchain comes out, it has levels of governance that are advanced in varying degrees. Bitcoin is the first level, where it's just a whole bunch of people voting. There's no real tools or systems to govern that. And it causes it to be very, very slow.
A whole bunch of people. They're only the major stakeholders. They're not the regular users. They're the devs. well, Bitcoin there's not, but on Ethereum you would see like Vitarin gets his vote, and
Right.
and Consensus gets their vote, and Binance gets their vote and stuff like that.
Right.
But you and I don't get our vote. Our vote is whether we continue to use Ethereum or not.
Gotcha. Level two is where people vote on stuff like how it works, like the tokenomics and stuff like that. Level three, uh, there are like different ways to, and this is where Tezos is, and people regard Tezos as like one of the highest ones of most advanced governance. That's like amendments. That's like things that you could bring in, like funds, like the T bonds, where you could create stuff like that. But and that's where Telos is currently. That has that, but
No,
it
that's
took
where
the
we
months.
were a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay. So that's what it has
These
available.
things they
Sorry.
talk about that take us to four. We've done it. We did a year ago.
Gotcha. No, so
And
I mean like that
people
was
have been using it for DApps have been using those for a year.
gotcha. So Telos has all that currently, but took the step into taking all that governance you tools essentially for the Telos blockchain, and they gave it to the developers, the DApps, on the Telos blockchain. Essentially, if we go back to my original example of a city, it's like saying that all the infrastructure that the city developed for the city is now accessible to the business owners that develop their businesses on the blockchain or in that city. Is that about right?
Precisely, great analogy.
Okay, and so then you're
You
planning
can
to take
see how that's great, right?
yeah,
You
oh
can
yeah,
see
for
how
sure.
like oh, okay, well, great, we can all build this, and the reaction from devs is once they hear about it, they're excited.
Yeah,
Our
all
big
that
challenge
legwork
is
is done. All of that
yep,
knowledge and all of that, figuring out all the testing, it's all done. So then the
yep.
next step into it is smart contracts and bridges, essentially reducing fees and creating cross-chain development and it really at the end of it is a end user result of zero fees and just able to utilize smart contracts to get that.
Right.
To get
For
there.
in the same way that Chainlink offers sort of price oracles and things like that. I mean, this could be very people who love Chainlink for that could look at this as just one of many things that Telos is doing as a governance as a service. And we also have other things, other services like ZK proof privacy transactions as a service, blockchain proof location. That's under development. Location proof of location as a service to other blockchains. That's under development right now. Identity, things like that.
Gotcha.
We're constantly building those things. Like if you want to take the Chainlink approach and say, well, great. Why, how is, they built on that promise. We're already delivering on those with non-competing things with unique sort of services and products that other
So
chains can use.
So you're saying you're not only a few steps ahead of already the most advanced governance token, you are miles ahead over the most
Yeah, it's
advanced.
not a few steps. Like a few steps, a few steps is saying, oh, our system for like you got to think about these. There's levels. There's like level one, and then they all like are saying, well, we're a little bit better here. But then you go to the next level. It doesn't matter. All these things become irrelevant, right? Now we're up to So at level 3 governance, you could say, well, our proposal Telos works is better than your proposal system, or worse, or whatever. You can make those arguments, but you can't. But nobody else. But we go, yeah, whatever, fine. We're going to keep like it. No. All the dApps can use us. No one else.
Yeah.
You can say you can bicker about these things, but you can't say, well, can other dApps use tools?
Your
No.
levels higher. You're miles
Yeah.
further
It's
because of the dApps.
just a yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So let me move on from there because there's just so much to cover. And if you guys have any
We've
more
done a lot of
questions,
work. I know. Yeah.
if you guys have more questions, check out the website. All the links are in the description.
Yeah.
So
Go to
let me talk
telos.net. It's all there.
Let me talk about the fastest. Why are you the fastest? And maybe like not so much technical stuff, but like help me explain the concept. Help me understand the concept of why.
I'm sorry. I know it's hard to. I mean,
Yeah, no problem.
I can't not think about it. The concept is that our block time. So everything is a block time, right? Every blockchain is a time. Bitcoin has a variable block time based on mining that aims to be 10 minutes. And it uses math to make that happen by changing its difficulty rate and things like that. In Ethereum, that is around 12 to 15 seconds per block. Right? the block time for Telos is 500 milliseconds, half a second.
Wow. Wow.
So it's not really variable. Every block, and the other thing is, like, if you look at a proof of work thing, there's all these minors that are going on, and I don't know if people understand this, but I've been, was in this business. All this computation, it's so funny. If you look at a miner like an ASIC miner, which is how all mining gets done now, there's all these specialized expensive cards that have ASIC, which is application-specific integrated circuit. Basically, it's a chip that does one thing, and that one thing is the math for figuring out SHA-256 or whatever the mining. They're all basically making guesses, and I won't go. They're basically making guesses at a number that might solve this puzzle. And the first one to do it, that everyone else says, yeah, that wins, right? So, but so they have all this, like, very, very expensive chips and everything like that, but the actual block is written on a single board computer, like basically a different brand, but like a Raspberry Pi. So what we do is we say we're going to throw that out because that's a massive waste. And instead, we're going to, we're going to select validators based on the votes of the users, based on the staked weight of their vote. So the more Telos you have, the bigger a vote you have, and what nodes, what 42 nodes are going to be, running the blockchain. But since it's not centralized, one of the problems with EOS is they did the same thing with 21, but it's completely centralized and you would have exchanges, vote tokens that they didn't even own that were just held on their exchange. And shocker, they all voted for themselves, and so now it's totally run by exchanges. And that's one of the things I said, here's what's going to happen, and did. But on Telos, it's selected by users. Most users are very small users. Again, the biggest whales have about 4% of the token supply. So no one can swing this on their own. And so that's how they're voted. Instead of doing all this proof of work trying to solve an equation, right, that fits a hash basically that fits the difficulty level, we create a schedule so everyone knows what the next every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes, there's a new schedule, and people can be voted in and out based on in real time, and so we don't have to guess who's going to do it. And so instead of wasting that time of that inefficiency, we say, okay, you're going to produce these blocks and these blocks and these blocks, and it's going to go and that allows us to quickly do blocks, and we actually run really fairly high-end infrastructure, each of those block producer or validator nodes, and we, instead of using that to solve some math problem that then all gets thrown away, when the next, with no value, we use our computing power, our much higher computing power. We're not doing it on Raspberry Pis. We're doing it on data center servers, and we use those to process high-end transactions that are in WebAssembly, which is a very efficient way to handle programming that Ethereum to ETH2 is planning to move to, right? But we've been on for 3 years.
Gotcha.
Well, it's also called WebAssembly. So it's a compiled language. So essentially at every turn that you could improve the efficiency, we have done so, and that's why we get this. And it's very easy actually to have a really fast block time. All you have to do is be centralized. Your blockchain is kind of like Excel, and if you're running Excel on your own computer, it can go very fast, right? But when you're trying to build consensus around everybody else, so that no one can change the number of your numbers in your account, right? But we can all sort of find a consensus and move forward. It becomes harder, and so to do that with true decentralization, where no one can lock up accounts or roll things back, or any of the other things that that happen on your bank account and Visa and all that stuff all the time that we're trying to solve through blockchain. It's as fast as it can get, essentially, because one of the things you have to figure out, and this is speed of light is fixed and the size of the planet is fixed. And so you could, if you want to try and get something going all around the planet and building consensus, you could really only do it in about a half, maybe a quarter, a second, right? It just doesn't get any faster because these things have to be globally done. So it's about as fast as it can get. Maybe somebody can double the speed, but you can't do a 10x on the speed or a 30x on the speed like we do for Ethereum.
Because it's just not physically possible.
Part of it is so of that 500 milliseconds, that half second, a certain amount is allocated to communications, and then a certain amount is allocated to computation. And so the physical limits, right? We're bumping up against the physical limits. So no one's going to come out and say, I'm a nerd, but here's the thing, and I like giving a little too much information because the people I want to appeal to really are not necessarily the Moon Boys. I mean, and more power to them. They're going to try to figure out whether a technology is going to, a coin. They don't give a shit about the technology because they're just trying to figure out the speculators are trying to figure out whether the price is going to go up in the next 5 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. Telos, I think, will appeal more to invest. And by the way, that leads to pump and dumps, invariably. I'm trying to appeal to people who are going to look at the underlying development value and say, wow, if this is true, that it does all these things and its value is this much different than others that are trying to do those and don't do it, then that's an investment thesis. I would like people who look at it in terms of an investment thesis and go, wow, sometime in the next, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, or 1 month, when this new Ethereum virtual machine that's the fastest and cheapest and highest capacity Telos EVM comes out, one would think that would have a positive impact on price. That's the people, and certainly, and I'm looking for something to buy and sell and hold for 5 years and have generational wealth. That's the people. Those are the people, and those people wisely do their research. And so I would like them to look into every damn thing I say because all of it's true.
Yeah, awesome. So you're basically saying, and I caught this, that Ethereum is moving there currently, and you're not only there, but you're perfecting it.
Yeah, we're more advanced than where Ethereum is moving, but Ethereum has a lot. There's a lot to like about Ethereum too, right? Ethereum is they're doing something very, very hard. So it's much easier for us to bring out a new protocol 3 years ago and say, than it is, start from scratch, than it is for Ethereum to take their blockchain, never be able to really shut it down, and that's like trying to. It's like we got to build our airplane. We got to build our airplane on the ground in a hangar and make it super fast and awesome and everything we wanted. And so, yeah, of course it flies fast. They took an airplane that's 5 or 6 years old, and they're trying to rebuild it in the air without landing to make it so like I'm not dissing Ethereum. I think Ethereum's great. I think we have a lot to offer Ethereum, and I think that's part of the value, right? We can say, hey guys, these things are going to be hard for you to build, especially if you can't land and build it. You can't shut down Ethereum for 6 months and fix this. That's not going to happen. You have to do it in the air, right? So let us cover this governance part because everyone wins, right? Yeah. And you guys do the other stuff. But yeah, they've been trying to move to ETH2, Ethereum 2, which is moving from proof of work, which is everybody guessing at these things, to proof of stake, which is letting people kind of vote and create blocks based on if they have stake. And Telos is delegated proof of stake, which is that next step where you say, well, you guys have the great connectivity and bandwidth and infrastructure and computers, and we're going to vote for you. We're going to vote for the people who have that instead of just doing it on our own computer and have to have our wallet open all the time, like a lot of staking things. So
so that's what that means. You're picking the best and you're delegating, and you're saying, hey, of these people, it's a delegated proof of stake. Okay, I understand that.
Yep, good.
Okay, cool.
Lemur.
I'm with you.
We're moving. Now we're going to take it up to the level, buddy. You're going to be so smart by the end of this thing.
That's fine. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'm consistently learning. So one of the big things, the hot topics right now, is green energy, right? Elon Musk is bringing this up. You said that you are the greenest blockchain. Could you explain that a little bit to me?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's going to be a lot of people making these claims. So I'm going to tell you, we have a report coming out that's going to substantiate all this.
Okay.
We're compiling it now, but I can give you the broad strokes. Telos, because we have 42, uh, validators running that are selected, right? And because they're not throwing away all this massive amount of proof of work, Bitcoin is around the energy usage of Belgium, right? And Telos is around the energy usage of about 15 home clothes dryers running at the same time.
What?
Yeah. And then so then you got to then you got to think about that other piece I mentioned, which is how many transactions are done. So Bitcoin does day to day maybe 1 million transactions, right? Telos, and they're with a record of maybe around 1.3 million transactions. The Telos record, and it's not like when I say that's the record, once it hits that, all these transactions get pooled up in the mempool, right, which is where the stored transactions wait to get picked up by miners. And sometimes, every once in a while, these are super slow on, with lots going on. You find that you might have to wait a couple days for your thing to go through. That never ever happens on Telos. And everything goes through in the block that it's produced. So that's another reason it's faster, right? Because you don't have to wait, you don't have to guess,
Right.
you don't pay gas, you don't have to like my favorite Ethereum game. I used to say my favorite Ethereum game is just kind of guessing how much gas I can pay and still have my transaction go through.
So much.
That's
Okay,
that's my definition of blockchain games.
so you're saying that you're the greenest, and there's a report coming out to substantiate that. And
Yeah.
for just for anyone, Bitcoin is like the energy equivalent of Belgium, which is like 11 million people, to Telos, which is about 15 home dryers. That's
No,
that's not
home dryers, clothes dryers.
that's not even
running at
comparable.
the same time. No,
That's not even
but then remember. So here's what I was building up to. There's that's for Belgium for. And by the way, I think some people have there's a lot of things that people get wrong about the Bitcoin energy thing, because they forget that mining gold has terrible impacts to the environment, and the current financial systems have terrible impacts and so Bitcoin has a lot of value, right? You shouldn't die on that hill, but energy is improved now. Things like Dogecoin and Litecoin and stuff like that, I don't know that they actually. I feel sometimes that their proof of work doesn't add anything of value at all. Like Bitcoin, yeah, like all these forks of Bitcoin Gold, total waste of all energy ever put into that system, right?
Yeah.
But Bitcoin, Papa Bitcoin is still
Useful.
quite valuable. But
Yeah.
look, what's the transaction? How many kilowatts are used per transaction, and how many megaton, how many tons of CO2 are pumped in the atmosphere per transaction?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the massive amount of transactions that Telos has, so we're this much better in terms of how how the overall chain. But if you look at it on a per transaction level, we're off the chart, because I mean, literally, I don't know how many zeros are in there, but it will be in the report. But because we have so many more transactions, you multiply that increase by the energy savings, and so now you're talking, with everybody else, you're talking about how many kilowatts per transaction. Now we're talking, now we're talking how many on Telos, you're talking about how many transactions per watt.
Gotcha. So, okay, so
Kilowatt hour.
it's not even comparable. Is what I'm
Right.
seeing. It's like not even
Right.
not even close per the CO2 and the kilowatts per transaction. It's not even comparable. Now,
Yeah, and also we're voting on chain to and so there's two other things. One is we're using our governance to vote on chain to fund carbon offsets for what we do use for those 15 hair dryers. And the other thing is, more importantly, like I was saying, like with Bitcoin, gold, or diamond, or crap like that, it doesn't matter how much or little they use. All of it's useless, right? There's no use at all for those to exist. Every electron of electricity used by those is of no value. You got to look, Bitcoin adds, it uses a lot, but it creates a lot of value because it helps, restructure the world away from wasteful things. What Telos does is we do that as well, and we empower a lot of environmental and regenerative projects. One I mentioned was seeds. Another is local scale. I mean, people can look into these things, but if the ecological impact of a blockchain is the thing you care about, Telos not only uses little resources, but we provides a lot of tools to and provides and supports real projects that are already making positive impacts on the climate crisis. So. Awesome. So that's important too. Like, it's not just it's not just mitigating how many negative impacts you have. It's creating opportunities for positive impacts.
Yeah, it's supporting the projects that are actively creating a better, more healthy, greener environment. Sure.
Because we need to do that. That's the prime challenge for humanity right now, and all these things need to support that in some way.
Agreed. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the governance, why you guys are fast, why you guys are green, why no one's heard of you, free transactions. Okay, tell me a little bit about front running. I have no idea what that is, and
sure.
What is it? Like, I don't know. And how do you guys integrate?
Get ready to be pissed off. Okay. So, front running. Imagine that I'm your stockbroker, and you want to buy, and you are a very rich person, and you want to buy $100 million of stock A, right? And you send your order to me, and I, as your stockbroker, go, wow, this guy's going to buy $100 million. I'm going to buy $1 million. I'm going to buy $2 million because, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my order for $2 million in, and at one price. Then I'm going to put in your order for $100 million. And then I'm going to immediately, the price is going to go way up, and then right after that, I'm going to sell mine, and I'm going to make zero risk, instant money, and it all comes out of your pocket. Now, that's front running. That's something that's existed for a long time. It's illegal, but it happens all the time, especially on Ethereum-based things. And the problem with Ethereum, and it's gone through so there's money to be made, right? And you can look on DeFi. I call this the DeFi tax. You can look at it, you'll understand why in a second. You can look on, there's a number of DeFi tools where you can look, and it'll actually show you where somebody did this front running or sandwich trading. Sandwich trading is you do what I just described. You do the buy before, you wait for the big buy, and then you sell instantly and make no risk money off the person who had the original sale. The way this initially worked is because there was a public mempool. The mempool is where we store. There's going to be a test on this, Aaron. The mempool is where you store all the transactions that have been sent, like through MetaMask, but that haven't been processed yet. And that's public, and anyone can see that. If and so people program bots to look at that, and they look for that big transaction that's coming through. And they say, oh, wow, here's a chance to make money. What we're going to do is we're going to use a much higher, these guys they have a big transaction, but they didn't put enough gas on it, and it's sitting in the mempool. And what we're going to do is we're going to do that front running, and we're going to make ours go through by paying a lot more gas. There's going to be a lot of gas, but it's going to get put ahead of theirs because of that, because you can basically buy your order of transaction in execution on Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain or anything that's basically based on Ethereum, which almost everything is, except for Telos and Telos EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine. So you can so that's just how it works. So they see these, the bots see these, they put in their things, and they steal value. It's basically a daylight robbery of value. So that was what used to happen, but now what's happening? The next step is the miners themselves are doing it. They're not like, so instead, so the miners get to order their transactions, right, and build the block. And so the miners in the 7 pools that process 99% of Ethereum block transactions, they look at it and they go, oh, here's something, we're going to do it ourselves. We don't have to pay some huge gas fee. We pay like the minimum gas fee because we're paying it to ourselves, and we just put our transaction ahead of this, right? And so it's I mean, people, how do you feel about that? That makes me mad. They're stealing value from you. Like, they're entrusting them, but that's built into the system, right? It's crazy. That's why I call it the DeFi tax, and it's a tax on anyone using DeFi. And everyone goes, oh, there's rug pools, oh, there's gas fees, all these things are horrible. What they really don't understand is they're losing more money in aggregate to front running than to any of those than to rug pools or anything else. But no one talks about it. So then you go, next question, Aaron, is why have I never heard of this before? Right. And the answer is because no one else has a solution for it, so they don't want to fucking talk about it.
Okay. But so what's the solution with Telos? The
solution is Telos and Telos EVM. So on Telos, we don't have a public mempool like that. We have governance. For one thing, it processes so much faster that it's much harder it would be harder for bots to do that. But for another thing, we have governance rules directly exclude, making it impossible, making it so that the block producers can't do this, and they can be excluded and penalized for a year or more for doing this, right? So, and it's easy to prove, and we've found people. So we have these governance rules, like, for example, you can't have more. Like, if I haven't even told you that Telos is functionally the most decentralized of all blockchains. I didn't want your brain to explode, and we can talk about that.
It's exploding for sure.
Yeah. But one of the things is, like, and one of the reasons for that is, you get somebody like Solana, and they go, well, we have, you only have 42 block producers doing this, and we have thousands, and it's like, yeah, but we have a rule that none of those 42 can be owned by the same people, and nobody has any idea who owns those thousands of Solana ones. And I'm just using that as an example. It's true of Solana. You have no idea. There could be one guy who owns all 10,000 Solana. In fact, there's evidence that there are a couple of massive pools, right? And the same thing is happening. That was the problem with EOS. One of the problems is, like, the same groups. It doesn't matter if you've got 21 block producers and you feel like you have Byzantine fault tolerance, BFT, which is basically anti-collusion, right? It doesn't matter if they are owned by the same people, or if they're all physically housed in the People's Republic of China, or under the first generation expat community, or people who then China can go, no, you're going to be doing this because otherwise your parents are going to disappear. I know that sounds thuggish, but look into it. That sounds like that's exactly what happens. You have billionaires. Jack Ma just disappeared. Right? Jake Tran has some great videos about this. That if people think that's just some crazy talk that I'm talking about, so they can get another view on that. But this is well. But also so does the New York Times and the Washington Post, and this is a real thing. So if it doesn't matter how many nodes you have, if they're all owned by the same people, or all under the effective control of government, because they can get your 51% attack. That having a large number is just a farce, right?
Smoke and mirrors.
And so what you really need is to make sure that whatever your number is. You can't have 1, and you can't have 2. But if you have a number like 40, 21, or 42, as long as they were truly independent and not colluding, then you can have good decentralization. If, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, you have 10 or fewer pools running these things, then you don't have effective, especially if you have 2 or 3 could get together and perform a 51% attack, then you don't have that. And you have to realize, look up like CZ from Binance saying about a year ago, oh, well, we should just roll back Bitcoin. Literally said we should just get together, the 5 of us should just get together and roll back those Bitcoin transactions. That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's not decentralized. You can't do that on Telos. So we have high decentralization, which is a great protection for users, and so our miners can't do that. So that's why we don't have the DeFi tax of front running. And it's all it's hard to like answer one question without also touching on the important protections on in another area like
No,
decentralization.
it makes sense because you're saying that you have the most advanced governance platform, and that makes sense to be going into like it touches on why things are fast, why it's stopping front running, how you know what I mean. Like it just makes sense why it's so green. It makes sense. We are running up here on time, and I'm like
Yeah,
trying to just wrap
yeah, I know.
my
But
brain here. So
probably there's a lot more we could talk about. But my guess is there's probably people in your audience have probably heard enough to make an informed decision about whether this is a scam or not. I mean, first of all, we're all the developers are doxxed. Are the developers? Do we know who the developers are? Do they understand what they're doing? Are they doing real development? Are in the very important areas like decentralization, development, governance, all these other things? Are they actually doing stuff? And are their claims based on anything, or are they just talking out of their asses? And people can probably make their decision.
Doug, I think my audience is probably a lot like me in that we are looking for projects that are undervalued and that it will change the world for better. I mean, that's what I personally look for. I look for
Me
people
too.
that I can trust and I could depend on, like I could trust on their vision. Like I don't know all of it, but I know that they know exactly where they're going, and I want to support like a powerful movement and a powerful project. That's what I want to do. And by all accounts, I mean, I personally like. Look, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not your financial advice. I don't give financial. I'm a cowboy. I give cowboy advice. So don't sue me for this next statement. But this seems to me like you, Doug, know exactly what you're talking about and exactly where you're going and exactly why everything works out. I might not understand. I have a base level lizard brain understanding of all of this, but I can tell already by my assessments is that hey, you already know what's going on in the whole ecosystem of cryptocurrency, and you're finding these like little loopholes or not loopholes, these pitfalls that these other blockchains are the user base is falling into, and you're closing them up. And not only that you're closing them up, you're building bridges over them, like legitimately the bridges in level 5 governance, and you're allowing your user base for these businesses, these dApps to come on there, and you're providing them the tools that Telos is using. And not only that, you're making it safer for the physical world, like this greener environment, and you're making it safer for users like me who, we're just regular Joes trying to make some trades and trying to invest in crypto, because I firmly believe that the future financial and internet institutions are going to be built on blockchain. It's just which blockchain is it going to be, and it seems like by all accounts, Telos is not a scam in any kind of way. But I do see that it is not just a scam, but it seems like a gem that, hey, if you get in early and you get in now, especially if you're a developer, you have a whole bunch of tools that you would not normally have at your disposal compared to other blockchains. And not only that, that bridges to other blockchains will be coming in the near future. So you're not even losing out on that. Does that all seem fair or right?
Yeah. I mean, bridges are here now, by the way,
Yeah.
for
Okay.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Binance Smart Chain, and we're adding more
Okay.
and
So
more
the
all the
biggest
time.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely, we're tackling. I think that's a great assessment. I mean, we're tackling real world problems. We've been calling it real world ready, and now we're moving that to like grandma ready. Telos is like the joke is Telos.
Yeah.
That's the blockchain my grandma uses.
Yeah.
Like we're making it so simple. Like I think that's the other thing. Like I would encourage people when they're looking at a blockchain. If you're trying to move from the lizard brain to the lemur brain, I would say go look at things like Blocktivity and see actual usage. Blocktivity.info.
For sure.
Go look at their GitHub repos and see what they're doing. Although a lot of our repos are spread out because we're decentralized. There's not one centralized repo that shows everything we're working on anymore. But then also try the wallet. What I used to do when I was starting out is I would like download these wallets or download these nodes, and I would try to use them. And I'd go, can I use this? Can I picture my friend or mom or wife or whatever using this stuff? And generally it's no. But you go to like wallet.telos.net, or app. To try out our wallet, which is getting better. One of a half dozen wallets. You go to app.telos and try these things out. Get a free account, try them out, and see how fast they are for yourselves. And that's what that. And then you go, oh, okay, I can see this being used. Like we're creating SaaS, and I'll spare you the details, but currently, if you imagine your grandma. Imagine saying to grandma, "Hey, grandma, can you send me 0.000000100 BTC to 3A lowercase k M U, and then blah, 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 keep going, and I will tell you in 2 hours whether I've gotten it or not." Right. Or you can say, "Hey, grandma, send me 1,000 sats to Aaron's account, and oh, great, thanks, got it, it's confirmed." Which of those works?
Yeah, for sure. The second, for sure. Okay,
that's the real world usage that we're trying to make it. We're trying to use the power of what we have to empower developers, but also empower users to make it easy so they'll actually use it. It's actually
I think
easier
you're right
than
on. I think you're right on. I love the fact that you're saying you have all this knowledge and this wealth of information and just like the mechanics of how it all works, but you also understand that the end user base needs to be frictionless, smooth, clean, so that a grandma can use it. I love that, because that's what, for sure. I mean, I'm just 100% behind that. Look, I'm gonna wrap this thing up, this interview up with. I'm gonna have one last question, but before you answer the question, I'll give you time to think about it. The question is, hey, are there any parting thoughts that you want to give us as a means to hey, invest in Telos, check out Telos? Before you answer that, look, if you've made it this far into the video, you obviously have been indoctrinated. You obviously see that there's some kind of worth to this thing, right? You're here for an hour and 20 minutes. Look, check them out for sure. Get involved. This is something that is like really blowing my brain, because it's like investing in like New York City before it's New York City. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like investing, like all that infrastructure, all that stuff is there. That's a growing user base. And I feel like this is just like one of those gems, especially if you're saying currently, if it's at around 25 cents. This just has massive upside potential here. Look, if you're this far in this journey or in this video, I want to thank you for watching. My name is Aaron. I'm on a journey to 1 Bitcoin. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell for any new and updated content. Give us a like button if you want to help me grow this channel and feel generous. Check out the links in the description for Telos and the whole Telos project. And look, I'm just like a cowboy, just like you, just trying to figure it out and make our way. And I think we have a gem on our hands. Now, Douglas, just to finish up here, do you have any parting thoughts, parting words with us, and so why we should be investing with you and Telos?
Sure. First of all, I'd like to say I do a number of videos. This is the only one I've done in this format, Aaron. I think it's fantastic. I think
cool.
You're solving a problem for people too. So, total kudos to you on that. I've talked about what Telos is. There's a lot of other information about what Telos is. Buy, don't buy. I don't know. I'm not here to tell people buy. I'm here to build tools and tell people what they are and tell people why we built them, what we think they do. We haven't even talked about our decentralized storage or all these, the fact that the tokenomics, that basically we've had zero inflation for the past year and a half, and probably never will. We only have 355 million tokens, and still we're self-funding, and and we got great staking rewards that are currently 15% because we've got which sounds, crazy because we've got reserves that people didn't take we're reallocating. The people didn't accept their accounts in the first year, and so now those are going back to people who are actually using it. There's a lot of things. I think just go to telos.net, look at all that's happening, make your own decision. I didn't come here to tell people what to invest in. I came here to tell people what we're doing and what we plan to do, and all. Go look at the roadmap. Like, first of all, most chains don't have roadmaps anymore. Ours is awesome. It includes things like Telos Private. It includes all, Telos Location, Telos Identity, and includes things we've already finished. We're about to finish, like Telos EVM. We haven't even talked about those. Go look at that. If it's something, the main thing, the reason we launched Telos is I and everyone else who was involved had watched the initial ideas about Bitcoin and about crypto and what it could do to the world, for the world, not get actually built. Like, I got sick of sending people these great Andreas Antonopoulos things about the blue sky things that Bitcoin could do, and then realizing that video got made 4 years ago and that still hasn't even started in a real way. And I said, we need to make this. Somebody has to walk the walk. So Telos is walking the walk. We are building we're building that dream, and I would say the best reason to get involved in Telos is if you also want to build a dream. If you want to believe. Now, I think there's a lot, like you said. I think I'll agree with your assessment that in doing all that, there's a chance to make money, a lot of money. But really, there's a chance to change the world. The more you look into it, we're trying to make positive changes, anti-authoritarianism changes, and build the tools to fix what's really wrong with Web 2, and make a better internet that empowers people over governance and corporations. If you want to do that, please come to Telos.
I love it, Doug. I love that your position is, don't invest in money because you want to make. Don't invest your money in Telos because you want to make money. I mean, you will do that, but invest your money because you principally believe that this is bettering humanity in every way possible. That that the things that you wanted Bitcoin and Ethereum and these other projects to do, they weren't doing or taking too long, and you are now doing with a group of people, with a community and a group of people, that it's like you are invested into Telos yourself, not because of just monetary reasons, but because you principally believe that it's making the world a better place in so many different ways.
I have kids, and I hope they have kids. And when my kids' kids come to me and say, "Hey, Dad, Grandpa, you were alive during that time. What did you do? What did you do to this is a crucial time. What did you do about the environment? What did you do about authoritarianism? What did you do about these things?" I want to be able to say, well, look, you know what? I knew that those are problems I couldn't solve myself, but I could help create tools for other people and to empower other people to make that better. And that's what I did. I have to have something I can say. And other people, they don't have to do that. The beauty of it is we're moving down that path, and other people can, if they have that state in the back of their mind, if they go, Grandpa, why didn't you kill Hitler? You were there.
Yeah.
And they're like, Grandpa, wait, why did you let why did you let authoritarianism rise? Why did you, what did you do? And the answer, if they're like, well, you don't want to go, well, it was just one guy. I want to give people a way to say, look, we got involved with this movement called Telos, and empowered all these things, and out of that grew a chance. Is why we're not living in that world we might have been living in. If you want to, we got to solve this, man. The world's at a crucial juncture, and it's within our power to solve it. But if no one builds the tools, we're not going to do it. If you don't have a hammer, you can't pound a nail.
Agreed. Principally, you are against this, I am with the authoritarian, and you are for privacy and freedom, and principally you want that for your children and generations and the generations after, and the money will follow, right? The money, it's a secondary thought to more.
I think so.
The more principal thing of, hey, these are the principles we stand for and we want to secure for our future families. I love it all, Doug. I love it. Thank you so much for being in the hot seat today. I felt like you grilled me more than I grilled you. Like you're. I'm gonna rewatch this, and I hope other people rewatch this too, to say, hey, you know what? This is something that really is changing the world and shaking up the cryptocurrency industry, and really a whole bunch of industries at the same time. Look, guys, thank you so much for watching. Lizard Brain, Gorilla Arms, Diamond-Handed Cowboys going together into the future. We'll see you guys on the moon. Thanks again, Doug.
Thanks, Aaron.